As you know from my short yesterday, I went and saw Paw Patrol. What did I think of it? Do I actually think it's a better movie than Oak Street? Actually, yeah, but that's besides the point. Let's break it down a little bit more.
Brace for impact! Whoa!
That's where it starts. Are we actually prepared for puppies teaming up with dinosaurs? What's up, guys? Today we are diving into Paramount's newest theatrical release, Paw Patrol, the Dino Movie. This is the franchise's third big screen outing. So is this just for the kiddies and a bore fest for us adults? I mean, yes and no. For the most part, it is very innocent. It's definitely not on the same level as other cartoons like the Meglins or Open Season or Toy Story that had a deeper, more intellectual plot that the whole family could enjoy. But was it a good movie overall and fun to watch? Absolutely. And being unbiased and actually judging it as a kid friendly movie for a younger child audience, it was actually very well made. So the story starts off with our usual suspect, the same rescue pups as previous films. It starts off with them needing to rescue a rich family whose cruise ship catches on fire. I thought this was a really good intro, mainly because I really liked this family. I loved the dynamics of all the characters. I thought the son was really funny. I thought the dad was really comical. Honestly, I could see them making a sitcom based on them, but they literally was just in this movie for a few minutes. It was played though. The father was played by Snoop Dogg, which I thought was kind of cool. And the mother was played by Paris Hilton, so they had some pretty big names for this opening scene. So the cruise catches on fire, and the pups have to save the preppy, high strung diva preppy cat, Mr. Fluffy Butt. And even though he doesn't look quite as luscious and fluffy as usual, they do return him safely to his parents. After that, unfortunately, there is a giant storm that takes place on the way home, and they get stranded on a island that is inhabited by dinosaurs. They quickly team up with local resident pup Rex. Could have been a little more clever with that name, but they team up with him, and this character brings a high amount of intense energy to the group. He has a more childlike persona to him, but I absolutely loved him. I thought he was cool. He also has this incredible wheelchair that he flies around in. He's incredibly enthusiastic. He gives a brief description on how he got there and how long he'd been stranded there. He comes off as the survivor pup who is an expert in creating and designing tools. He brings the pups to this awesome treehouse that he made that it just looks huge. I will say the pacing of the film for the beginning was a little slow. Then in the middle, it picks up a little bit when you start to dig deeper into the plot. And then it really gets intense in the third act and the final. It gets actually pretty nail biter, believe it or not. So chaos erupts when the Oz nemesis Mayor Humdinger appears and he wants to start a mining mission on the island because he finds out the island is filled with diamonds. He's also teamed with two new characters. First, Hopper Cutlass, who I'm a big fan of. I thought her character was really interesting and gave the laughs. She was supposed to be this tough dino hunter, this ruthless dino hunter, and at times she did portray that, but then she also would end up being a klutz and ended up doing something dim-witted and making a clown out of herself. The graphics of this film was over the top, way more realistic than past films, and incredibly beautiful on the big screen. At times, I was wishing that it had been a 3D film because this film would have looked amazing in 3D format. Even without it being 3D, it was cutting edge. The island and the dinosaurs in the film looked awesome. It was so colorful and bright. The soundtrack was also definitely did a great job of setting the mood of a more intense and energetic pace and mood. And there was an unexpected Backstreet Boys song that, though I'm not a fan of, I will admit was the correct choice to make. It's created a very positive vibe. It creates a great wholesome lesson about teamwork and the power of positivity and belief in yourself and willpower. That's what this movie really was attempting to deliver. The moral of the story was about having courage and belief in yourself to achieve what some would think was impossible challenges. There's even a heartwarming line where Ryan tells Marshall that I did not pick you because you are the pup that never makes mistakes. I picked you because you are the pup that never gives up. And this was right at a time where Marshall was starting to have doubts in himself. He was beginning to second guess his performance and needed this encouragement. Now, let me say, when I judge a film, I do so on the scale of the audience that I believe it is most appropriate for. Also, there are different degrees and categories of films. So when I say that this film is good or great, or I praise it in some way, it doesn't mean that it's on the same level of good or great as another film that is good or great. There's different degrees of greatness, I suppose. So even if I gave Obsessions 5, if you're under 17, don't watch Obsessions, and I give Paw Patrol a 5, it doesn't mean those two films are equal to each other by any means. But not saying that I'm giving it a 5, that hasn't been revealed yet. Now, do I really think it's better than Oak Street? Yeah, sure, I do. Does this discredit me as a movie reviewer or critic? You're entitled to your own opinion on that. I think that it outbeats it because it has a moral value. It keeps a better pace. It's less corny and cheesy. The actors are more heroic in it, and also are simply better performed actors. There was also more of a plot going on. Not only did you have the notorious villain attempting to ruin the island and profit off of it and steal all the diamonds from it and creating some type of creating some type of environmental chaos in the process of attempting to do so. There was also the story of believing in yourself and overcoming obstacles and bettering yourself and becoming a stronger person. Marshall later on has a difficult challenge to face. He actually ends up in the hospital. That's all I'm going to say. But he is ready to jump right back into it when he finds out that one of his friends is missing. He wants to hop right out of bed and go find him. There's also a cool segment where they keep going back to in flashbacks where Marshall was attempting to climb up a wall during the training of the rescue Paw Patrol, and he kept falling. Everybody else was able to complete it, and he couldn't. And it's raining and it's muddy, and he must have done it all night for hours. And finally, he ends up achieving it. And look, it's not all sunshine and puppies. Parents, take notice, and as a brief warning, this film pushes some boundaries. There's actually a lot of intense violence, I would say, and some very intense scenes, like the fire scene or a volcano erupting that is creating a lot of chaos and a lot of destruction. And if you have a very young child, uh, like 3, 4, I would say it could end up being a little too much for them. And, maybe they would even panic at the sight of some of their favorite characters being put into actual danger and being injured. Ultimately, Paw Patrol, the Dino Movie, does exactly what its target audience, preschoolers and kindergartners and the first few years of elementary students, want. It's joyful, it's action packed, it's silly and goofy and ridiculous humor, and it gives a clear inspirational message on how people should behave. Adults watching, parents, it's not going to be as challenging of a film to get through as you would think, as some other films for that age range might be. This is a situation where you may even somewhat get into this plot. At the very least, you'll be able to tolerate it. You won't be suffering through this film. Again, if you have a 2 to 3 year old or 2 to 4 year old who is sensitive to things like that, it may be a little overwhelming to them. It may be too intense. Maybe just have them watch one of the older films. But if your child is between 5 and 8, I would say that they would probably love the thrill of the film. And if you're someone like me who just loves cartoons and kids' movies, and you just like that little escapism and to not always have to be watching, vulgar, obscene, and provocative films, then I do recommend it. I mean, there's a limit. There's certain child's films and shows I'm not gonna watch because they're just too educational or too um, juvenile, where there's not really any amusement I could get. But certain cartoons, like this one, for example, the plot is there. There's a lot going on, and the last 20 minutes, I will just say I had to go to the bathroom, and I didn't even want to get up, which I was surprised because I wouldn't think that Paw Patrol would have done that to me, but I was really uh, surprised at the amount of suspense that it was giving at the end there. Before I conclude this, I also want to talk about another additional new character that was added to the film. He's a baby T-Rex that Marshall befriends. And guys, this is a Marshall-based movie. It's mainly focused on him and his character development. He becomes the mentor and the parent of a baby T-Rex who is more like a pet rather than a friend. There's also some humor going on about the T-Rex raw not having a correct raw in comparisons to the other dinosaurs. Oh, I got a little spoiler coming here, so if you urgently want to click away, go ahead. If there are any kids watching, I don't know. All right. There's this scene where the volcano erupts and the lava is exploding, and there are two adults being suspended by a wire hanging over the volcano, and all the pups must rescue these adults. Scene is so cool. It's near the end of the film, and it definitely is the climax of the movie. And now for my final score. I am giving it 4 X's, guys. 4 out of 5. It was that good. It really was. I think the appropriate age range for this film is 5 to, let's say, even 10, but maybe more like 6 to 8. It's good, guys. I think if you're that age range, this film is a 4 at least. It was well made. The anime was good. The music was good. The acting was good. Check it out, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Did your kids see it? Did they like it? Did any of you who have younger kids maybe have an episode or got upset at the film? Are you a adult who maybe viewed it on your own and have an opinion about the film? Whatever the case, drop it in the comment section. And if you're not a subscriber already, ask you to please drop a like and consider subscribing for more movie reviews. I do 2 to 4 new movies a week and maybe an additional one classic movie. The 2 to 3 movies you get a week are going to be new releases of movies that had just came out previously that month. I do horror films, I do cartoons, I do action, and anything and everything in between. That's another X marks the review.